Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey. We are a vegan, mostly whole foods cooking show. We do some product reviews. Sometimes there's some episodes with Tim. If you like what you hear so far, please hit that like button, show us some love, and please think about subscribing and becoming part of the Plant-Based Dads family. We do have a Patreon page set up. Our patrons are our monthly financial supporters that help us put the show together to get the plant-based message out to the masses. If you ever saw the show, or if you're in the Facebook group and thought, how can I help? How can I be part of this? Well, that's how you can do it. You can become a patron. Or you can also make a one-time donation on PayPal. There's a link to both of those right below this video in the description. Little Red's back, wearing his Plant-Based Dad's outfit with his little high-top sneakers and his Plant-Based Dad's t-shirt. All of Little Red's custom clothes are provided by theredelfshop.com. Check out theredelfshop.com. I'm not affiliated with them as far as, financially. I don't get paid by them. They're not a sponsor, but they just sent me the clothes for the elf. They always make me smile. I can't help but giggle every time I look at him. So I just, share this with you if you're doing the elf too. So tell Juliana at theredelfshop.com that I sent you. All right, so this week we're doing a new Thanksgiving stuffing. The one we did last year was from the Esselsteins. It was the mushroom stuffing with the different kinds of bread and the port wine and all that. And to me, Tim loved it. I did not like it. I thought it was too mushroomy, too gritty, and it just had too much, like it was trying to do too much. That's what Tim loved about it. I want a stuffing that you at home could watch and go, oh yeah, I've got bread laying around. Oh yeah, I've got those spices laying around. I got some onions. I could make that, right? I don't want it to be port wine, or what did they use? They used a tawny port wine, which was really fun, but I just don't think it's practical for the average person wanting to make stuffing at home. So this year's stuffing is going to be a little different. It's much simpler. It's much more traditional. And you know what? It's so odd. When you go to Sprouts, we found so many options for minimal ingredient breads. And sourdough, of course, there was plenty of that. And I'll show you some right here. There was just this sourdough bread that we bought that we didn't use for the stuffing. But there was also just plenty of wheat breads that had like 3 or 4 ingredients in them that weren't sourdough and didn't have oil. So we just got that. And I was amazed at what kind of bread you can get now without a huge list of ingredients. Obviously, Tim could make his own bread for this stuffing, and that's really what I'd like to do. And for Thanksgiving, we're probably going to do that. But for you at home who's not going to make their own bread, I wanted this to be as duplicatable as possible for you to do just by running the Sprouts, grabbing a few things, and coming home. Because I know you're not going to make your own bread. All right, so I'm really excited to show this recipe to you. It's absolutely delicious. I can't wait for you to see it. Let's get to the food. So now the first thing I'm going to do is get this bread into the oven. To get perfectly toasted bread, use a very shallow baking sheet and set the oven to 250 degrees. I toasted these for about 45 minutes, and I kept tossing them every 20 minutes just to kind of mix them up. While that's heating up, I'm going to get my veggies going. I've got 2 cups of vegetable broth here. I'm going to pour it a little bit out into the pan so I can get my veggies sauteed. Now I'm going to start putting in my veggies. Here I've got about 6 to 8 scallions diced. Next I've got 5 to 6 celery stalks diced. Next I'm adding about 3 to 4 carrots nicely diced. And then I'm going to start mixing this all up to get it combined. As you can see here, I'm just sauteing this so the veggies get soft. So I'm going to saute this for about 5 minutes. Remember, we're not using oil, so if you need to add a little bit more broth, then add it. And you can see here, it looks good. It's ready to go. Next, I'm going to take a nice big mixing bowl. I'm going to dump my sauteed veggies right into the mixing bowl. Next, I've got about 8 cups of cubed bread toasted in the oven. Now I'm going to mix my hot veggies with the toasted bread, kind of get all that combined here. And now it's time to make the dressing. First, I'm going to add a tablespoon of miso. And of course, it won't come out of the spoon, so I'm going to have to use my fingers. Then I'm adding about a tablespoon of fresh rosemary. You can use dried. Next, it's 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. And then about 1 tablespoon of thyme. After that, I'm adding about a tablespoon of sage. And then 1 heaping tablespoon of nutritional yeast. I'm putting some black pepper to taste. I like a lot. And I'm adding the remainder of my 2 cups of vegetable broth. I'm going to whisk that together to get all of those spices combined into the broth here. We're not using salt because of the miso. And that should do it. And now I'm going to take my bread and veggie mixture and I'm going to pour the dressing right into that mixture. Then I'm going to grab my wooden spoon and I'm just going to start mixing it up till it's combined. I want to make sure everything gets coated so all of the bread has a chance to absorb the dressing. Now for cooking this, Tim wanted to use an acorn squash that was on the counter that seemed like forever. So he sliced the top open with the paring knife, and you can see here he did a nice job, and then he carved out the inside. He also took one of our doll strong knives and sliced the bottom off to make it sit flat. You can see here, it's really nicely done. It's all carved out, it's ready to fill. This is going to cook nicely. Then we started filling this thing up with some stuffing. Now, practically it doesn't hold a lot, but if you're doing a presentation for dinner, it would be really beautiful. And we just made sure that was stuffed, and then we took the top and put it back on. And that's how we're going to cook this thing in the oven, just like this. Next, we took 2 casserole dishes and filled them up with the rest of the stuffing. Then we added some slivered almonds to the top. So here you can see what's going in the oven. 2 casserole dishes filled with stuffing and 1 squash. We're going to cover up the casserole dishes so the stuffing doesn't burn while it's cooking. And then we're going to toss it into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. After about 30 minutes, we're opening the oven and removing the foil from the casserole dishes only. We want to let that brown on the top a little bit. You can remove the top of the squash if you want, but we didn't feel like we needed to. And then back in the oven they go. And here you can see the finished product. We've got a beautiful casserole dish and an absolutely amazing squash stuffed with stuffing. This looks so good, I can't wait to eat this. Happy Thanksgiving. So I just take this and I pour my McDougal gravy all over it. The golden gravy he has in the starch solution book. I've got a link to it on how to make it right here in the mashed potato video from last year. But I'll put the recipe for the gravy in the description below this video and on the blog too, so you can find it there. But look how good this looks. I've got all of this really chunky, beautiful stuffing, all those big chunks of bread, all those little chunks of vegetables, all just kind of mushed and together, just absolutely delicious. And I mean, I've been kind of eating this all day, so I know it's good. This is really more of a traditional stuffing, the kind that you would make growing up. So good. The flavors from the spices are just really, really good. It's so Thanksgiving. Oh yeah. Now you can definitely taste the spices in here. So if you're more of a garlic and herb stuffing person, then change your spices to work for that. I like the Thanksgiving spices. I like the thyme. I like the sage. I like all of that stuff, the rosemary. Using the rosemary from the garden really gave it a pungent rosemary taste to this. So dried rosemary would be a little lighter, and it's probably what you'll have at home. We just happen to have the rosemary in the garden, so we used it. I just love using fresh spices when we have it. All right, that's our video for today. Please hit that like button. Show us some love. What's not to like? We got Thanksgiving stuffing. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we have a new video, usually every Monday. And please leave a comment below. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? I filmed this video last week, but this week when you're watching it, I'm in Tennessee with my family celebrating the wedding of my sister, April. And we're probably having a blast because we're all together, and I'm filming a lot of content in Tennessee. So we're probably gonna have a bunch of videos together. And I want to thank Juliana over at theredelfshop.com for supplying Little Red with his clothes. Check them out. Tell her I sent you. I absolutely love everything they have over there. All right, folks, we'll see you next time. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.